And we are live, I think.
Hi, guys.
There we are. Okay, I got it. We keep talking. I gotta get the music off. Curtis, come back.
What's up, guys? We're back for another show, and I picked the topic. So, guys, I'm the problem again. It's me.
What else is new? You've
I'm
been the problem for 3 years now.
Guilty as charged. All right, for those of you, why am I suddenly off center? What the hell? What did I do? I didn't touch anything. There we go. There we go. Much better. So, for those of you who do not follow me over on ye old Facebook of Faces, my post that went up on Monday, I woke up at, early, ass crack of dawn in the morning, to 200 Facebook comments and counting, and now the thing it's only been up for like 3 days, and it's now over 800 comments because I managed to piss a whole bunch of women off. Wait, I can't hear you.
How about now?
I can hear you now.
See, it changed to a different thing, but now it's back on microphone. Okay. That was weird. It happened. I was like, what the heck just happened? Hopefully they can hear me on TikTok. Somebody on TikTok can hear me. Wave your hand in the comments, people, not on the screen. All right, go ahead, Lindsay. They can hear you though.
All right, so guys, I made a post. I talked about how apparently or why being able to walk alone at night has become the litmus test for female safety. And I talked about that's stupid, and how there's a difference between walking alone at night in your like neighborhood and walking, like stumbling down an alley at 2:00 in the morning wearing club attire with your head in your phone, paying no attention to your surroundings at 2:00 in the morning when the bars have closed. And there's this lovely thing that men are taught called situational awareness and risk assessment.
That little thing.
Apparently women missed that lesson. And it was very interesting because I had two groups. I had the normal group, and then I had quite a few men actually in the comment section. I mean, we're talking, when I say quite a few, hundreds. I had hundreds of guys in the comment section talking about how, yeah, you wouldn't catch me dead in an alley in shoes I can't run in. I'm 6'2" and weigh 200 pounds, but even I wouldn't go out at 2:00 in the morning in a sketchy neighborhood. Like, there's places I won't go. Like, all the men were talking about how they routinely look around, they're aware of their surroundings, they don't go certain places, and then of course that men overall are a lot more likely statistically to be the victim of a violent crime across all categories. And then we predictably had the group of women that were split into two things. Either one, oh my God, you're victim shaming. Oh my God, you think it's our fault? Oh my God, how dare you? And then the ones that sit there and say, well, men don't ever have to worry. Men just walk around on easy mode with cheat codes and like godlike, they don't have to worry about it at all. And I'm like, scroll up to the people who sit there and pretend that guys are on God mode all the time. Scroll through the rest of the comment section. There's tons of guys that are talking about how they are aware of their surroundings, where they won't go certain places. I even had a guy in my comments who said, I'm a Navy SEAL and there's places that I won't go.
It tells you something.
Which tells you something. And so this idea that women think that and I'm like, look, you should be able to go wherever you want because there should, in a perfect world, but we don't live in a perfect world, sweetheart. And we have to, taking accountability and taking responsibility for your own personal safety, and it is your deal, is not the same as saying you deserve something horrible to happen to you. Like, wearing a seatbelt does not cause the car accident, but it certainly is a preventative measure for, risk assessment damage. And the number of women, the more and more I engage with women online, the harder I have to fight not to hate the lot of them. Like, I don't want to hate my own gender, but God damn it, ladies, you're making it so difficult to like you.
Well, I mean, as someone, and we've talked about this not too long ago, I've taught self-defense classes to both men and women, more women than men by a mile. Which you thank you for jogging my memory. So our local city police is doing a monthly thing now where they offer self-defense for women. So I believe they can have up to 18 participants per month. And I need to contact the chief of the police and go, well, where's the one for men? Because it's right in this argument we're talking about, right? Even the police are assuming the men can take care of themselves. And to your point you mentioned earlier with the Navy SEAL, there are places I won't go because I'm not stupid enough to go to them. And everywhere I go, I bring a tool with me. We'll go with that because, that keeps it safe. I always have a tool on me. And no, it's not a screwdriver. And even with that, I'm not stupid enough to do certain things like go to certain areas at 2:00 in the morning, right? It's as the word you used is exactly what I used to teach in those classes, which is situational awareness, right? Oh, we got a hat and mustache. It's been a while. So on TikTok, hat and mustache gets a yeehaw from Lindsay. God, that's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Thank you, Coxie, and also thank you for the heart. But getting back to one of the things I often taught in that class, the first thing I taught in every class is the best way to avoid getting in a bad situation is situational awareness, right? It's understanding where you are, your surroundings, the potential people you could run into. And it is also, by the way, how you comport yourself, right? If you walk down the street with confidence, when you're walking down, if you have your eyes down and you're looking meek, you're going to look like a victim and you're going to be targeted. If you look up, you look people in the eyes, man or woman, by the way, they'll be much less likely for them to do something to you. It doesn't eliminate the risk completely, but it does lower it significantly. And that was one of the hardest things I had to get women to understand. I can't do that. I got to look down. No, that you're showing you're a victim then, right? You need to literally look them in the eyes. With my current wife and my ex-wife, they're like, you're so damn intimidating, Dan. Yeah, because I am fully aware of my situational awareness anywhere I go, right? I am constantly scanning. I am constantly looking around. And that applies to men as much as it does women, because I see a lot of men who make the same mistake. They're walking around, their head down. They got their earbuds in, so they can't hear a damn thing. That's the stupidest thing ever. When I taught those classes, I used to say to everyone, it was one of the first things I asked is, if you ever go for a walk or jog, and a decent number of people would raise their hand. Okay. Next question. Do you wear earbuds or headphones? And universally, it was every person raised their hand again, right? And I'm like, you're begging for it, because I could sneak up behind you and you wouldn't know I was coming. And then I would do a demonstration on it. I would ask for a volunteer, have them come up, put a pair of headphones on them and say, okay, walk. And then I would say at some point, I'm going to get you. So they even knew I was coming, but they never knew when it was. And I would still inevitably scare them. And that was the point. You should never be doing that. You should always have one ear uncovered or one bud at a much lower volume if you have that style. And it's things like that I think men are more aware of natively and naturally, inherently, than women are, for whatever reason. But it's interesting how they were reframing it back to you, because they immediately went into victim mode.
Well, they immediately went to victim mode, and interestingly enough, I actually caught quite a few, more on this post than in any other post I've ever done, of women with male profile pictures trying to, I have no idea. But I've been arguing, it happens a lot, but I've been arguing with people online for before Facebook existed. And I'm a writer by trade. I've been a writer. I've been a published author before. I got the first time I was ever published was, believe it or not, in 7th grade. So I know how women write, and I know how men write. I know how women argue, and I know how men argue. And I could sit there and say, Okay, Matthew.
Yeah. They make it
They
so
make it so
obvious.
obvious, and
They use the feminist terms thinking that
they
it doesn't out them, and it outs them
well,
immediately.
they argue the way they think men argue.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, the
The
stereotype.
stereotype of how they think men argue. And some of this the sexist chauvinistic things that and misogynistic, quite frankly, that came out of these women's mouths, because that's what they think men are like. That's what they think men on the internet are like. And I'm like, usually if a guy comes out swinging with like, you know, some misogynistic slur right off the bat, I'm like, that's a woman. Because I'll have a guy attack my logic. I'll have a guy attack my facts. He'll say something like, you know, the stats you used are wrong, and therefore these are my stats, and this is why I'm right and you're wrong. Here's you a link. They don't attack me personally. They don't attack, you know, they don't make insinuations about psychoanalyzing my marriage or psychoanalyzing, you know, all of that. And I was like, look, ladies, I literally said I'm not victim blaming, and I'm not. You do not deserve something horrible to happen to you. But if you go swimming in the shark infested waters while you're bleeding with a sign outside that says, "Careful, sharks," are you asking to get eaten? No, but you are significantly increasing your chance of getting bit. And if that were a guy in that situation, if a guy had done that and put himself in that situation, the women would be sitting up on the shore going, "You're an idiot, Steve. You're an idiot. You knew there was a sign.
And they do that.
You knew there was a
That's the
sign."
point I was
And
making.
I'm like, yes, you would. You would absolutely do that. So why is it not socially acceptable to say, you knew there was a sign, Becky? Like,
Well, the thing is, too, and you know, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on the stats, but the reality is, and you mentioned this at the very beginning, men are more likely to be a victim of a crime than a woman by a wide margin. Okay. But the other side of it is when you look at the stats, they always just look at one number. And I'll use the unalivings one, right? Because I was in this with a woman earlier. This actually was last week. Well, men unalive more women than women do. Okay. Right. And, you know, she threw out a number which was wrong, by the way. She had like 9,000 for whatever year it was. I don't remember. It was 22 or 23. Well, hello, Google exists. I went to Google and found the actual number for women that year was about 4,000. I'm rounding up a little bit. And, you know, so again, her number was wrong right off the bat. And then you know, 4,000 out of, and I'm rounding here. These are not the exact numbers of about 20,000, right? Murders or unalivings, if you prefer. So about 20% ballpark. But she didn't care about that. It's only the women. And then I said, okay, and this is an argument I've made many times over. At 4,000, how many women are in the United States? And the number is in the neighborhood of 175 million. So say that 3 times fast. Statistically speaking, the odds of you being unalived by anyone, but specifically a man, are less than 0.00001%.
well,
So that's 2 more zeros, right? But yet they want to live. We can't walk around on the streets. We're going to get attacked. And you can take that out to all the crimes. Now, again, to your point, we're not trying to minimize anyone who's a victim of a crime in any way, shape, or form. But on an average day, how many hundreds of men does a woman encounter? Hundreds.
It's the man versus bear thing all over again, which I have a very interesting anecdote for that. So 2 things real quick before I forget. So statistically speaking, women are actually safer. It is safer for me to walk around even in a sketchy part of town than it is a man, because the likelihood of me getting attacked are very low. More women are attacked by people they know. So a woman is statistically more in danger in her home. She's more likely to be attacked by a intimate male, you know, an intimate partner. a brother, a father, or someone she knows in her friend circle, than she is a random stranger. It's the opposite for men. And it's opposite by quite a margin for men. But in my little image that because I have a cartoon that goes, a comic that goes along with my post, it was a one woman walking around in athletic gear down a neighborhood, quiet neighborhood street, well lit, all of that. And then a woman in an alley wearing club gear with like this shadowy bipedal figure behind her. And I went with the big bad wolf trope. I specifically did not use a bipedal bear for my post because since last year we learned that women apparently think that grizzly bears are safer than men, I thought that something might get lost. So someone asked me, goes, why is it a wolf? And I go, well, I was considering using a bear, but and that actually got quite a few chuckles.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
But to the point about women's safety, of course, we all had the women sit there and say, well, you're victim blaming, all of that. And I'm like, look, taking precautions is not the same as it's not victim blaming to take precautions. You wouldn't sit there and say that wearing a seatbelt is victim blaming for a car crash. You wouldn't sit there and say locking your doors at night is victim blaming. You would say that it's common sense. But for some reason, we women in today's society think that we're entitled to everyone else protecting us except ourselves. I'm like, look, personal safety or your own personal safety is a personal responsibility. You are only entitled to that which you can provide for yourself. It is not men's job. It is not society's job to protect you. It is your job to protect you. And you should be taking as many precautions as possible. Or at least, if you're going to engage in the risky behavior, acknowledge that you are doing it with full understanding that it is, in fact, risky behavior.
Well, I mean, and it's inherently risky behavior for both men and women to do certain things in certain areas. I mean, if you're out and about at 2 o'clock in the morning, like where I am locally, our downtown is pretty active at night. So, if it's, let's say 1 o'clock in the morning and you're leaving the bars and there are alleys down there, which I wouldn't walk through them because they're dark alleys, right? The risk assessment it doesn't matter whether I'm a man or a woman. The risk assessment says you do not walk down there, right? Because it's not right. Stay where it's lighted, stay where it is, blah, 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 blah. It's common sense in many cases. But yet, it's not uncommon. You see the young girls. When I say young, I'm talking college age, right? Because obviously they're supposed to be college age if they're out drinking, because it's 21 in my state. But they'll walk right down those alleys and they don't think twice about it. And it's like, you're afraid of men, but then you put yourself in that position. And I would make the same argument if a college boy did the same thing. I'm not trying to pick on the girls, but I don't see the guys doing it. They're more situationally aware naturally. And again, I've taught these classes. I've seen it in there. And then really when they come back with the argument, you're victim blaming, what in reality they're doing is trying to avoid taking accountability, right? They want this perfect utopian world and they think it can happen. Well, I hate to break it to you, but women are pretty violent themselves.
So I actually got into this with someone because I happen to live in the north and south, east and west corridor of the United States. Do you know, actually, surprisingly, statistically speaking, more women are attacked by other women randomly out and about than they're attacked by men?
Yep.
In human trafficking, women think that other women are safe inherently, and so do children. So human traffickers will often, some of the most prolific human traffickers out there are women.
Oh, you got a troll coming at you on TikTok.
Oh,
everything you say is not true. They want the bare minimum, Lindsay. We want human decency. They don't offer it, but they want it. It's funny. Source.
We're back to the FBI crime stats. Border Patrol.
Yeah, go look it up on the DOJ, honey. We don't need to do it for you. Supposedly you're an adult. It's right there for seeing.
But
I love these women that do this.
The other thing is that they are like, well, we demand human decency from criminals. Criminals don't have human decency. That's why they're called criminals.
Yeah, but they also don't offer it. Tell men not to look. We got that one too. Oh, the Epstein files. She just came out with that one. Really? You want to talk about all the women in there, honey? How about it? Let's do it. Because I've done a video on it, honey. I've actually seen the files. So unless you're willing to admit that you are just as guilty as me, well, you know, don't go there, honey, because you don't have the ability to back it up. She's gonna go report us now. You watch.
Because
Again, they're completely insane, right? They throw the same argument out over and over and over again.
It's entitlement. It's entitlement. I demand safety. I demand.
Oh, now they're saying they need to go check my hard drives. See, here we go, right? Immediately, he's a P3DO. Notice they're not disputing what we're saying. They're using personal attacks.
Which is exactly how I was able to tell that Matthew and Aaron.
Oh, you're brainwashed too, Lindsay.
Oh, that's
See,
cute.
and now they're calling in the reinforcements too. Let's get all the girls in and let's call them a P3DO.
So they're threatened by you. They're threatened by me because I use my brain to think, and I'm not a.
Yeah, they don't have one. That's the problem.
Right.
You know, I'll mute them after a while. I'm amused. I'm not mad.
No,
I'm laughing.
I'm not mad either because it is incredible.
It's pathetic.
It's incredibly sad. So my entire post was basically talking about, hey, ladies, you know, and this is the thing that always comes back down to.
Oh, living life is source enough. No, it's not. You want sources from us? You provide them, honey. What are you thinking? He told you not how to think. Oh, I got to.
So
exactly.
So
you can see her foaming at the mouth at the keyboard right now. I hate these people. They're P3DOs.
So this is something that I actually argued in my comments. I'm like, look, ladies, I personally think that women are strong and independent and capable of independent thought and capable of agency. And because I think that we're strong and independent and capable of independent thought and agency, part of using our agency is this lovely thing called risk assessment. We are smart enough to know that going down a dark alley at 2 a.m. is not a good idea. Well, so anyone who's sitting there saying, you know, everything should be safe for us, we should live in a sunshine, roses, whatever, you're basically sitting there saying that women should be treated like children because we need to be taken, we need to be made safe, we need to be locked in a room, and everything needs to be, our environment needs to be made safe for us. I hate to break it to you, sweetheart, but with freedom comes risk. And the more free you are to do as whatever you please, you are opening yourself up to risk. Because in ye olden days, women used to have a curfew. In ye olden days, women had to have a curfew. They weren't allowed out at past a certain time unless they were a streetwalker. They weren't allowed out at a certain time. They always had to have a chaperone because they were being protected for their own safety. Now, we women got together and said, we don't like that. We're not children. We're perfectly capable of, you know, making our own decisions and protecting ourselves. And society said, okay. And they gave us the freedom to make wonderful decisions. They also gave us the freedom to make horrible decisions. And if you make a horrible decision, like, I don't know, going to swim in a river that, you know, has alligators in it, even though there's a posted sign that says caution alligators,
or hippos,
hippos are mean.
They will.
They are so mean. They kill more people than lions and Nile crocodiles combined.
Yeah, I was just watching something on that on YouTube about a month ago. It was fast. It was like a 20-minute long thing on how nasty hippos are, and you don't want to be. It had a cute little baby hippo to start with. I wish if I could find it, I'll share it sometime. And then it showed it as it growed up and what it would do. It was great. I had to block them off because everybody was saying, please block them. So they're gone. They'll just create another account and come back.
Yeah, they'll create another account and come back. But so like the curfew thing. So I'm not entirely sure that we ever had it in rural America, but in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, London, I know the big cities in Europe had them. There was a curfew for women past a certain time of night. You had to have a chaperone. You had to, because you were being protected for your own safety. then women got together and they decided that, we're not children. We don't need to be coddled or, pacified or, all of that stuff. We want, the ability to do whatever we want. And society said collectively, okay. And now we're here demanding that demanding that we're basically demanding in the impossible. We're demanding that bad people don't exist. And bad people will always exist, male or female. That's another thing that I tried so hard to push in my comments when I was talking to people in my post, is that statistically speaking, and you can check with the DOJ, you can check with the FBI crime statistics, the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and even the CDC and the Department of Human Health. All these places, at least in the US, there are similar discoveries in, I think, Canada and the UK, and I think New Zealand. I'm a bit fuzzy on Australia. But you have access to all of this that shows that on the random stranger danger front, a woman is more likely to be attacked by another woman than she is a random man.
And that's the thing, right? Is those that have that mindset don't think women ever do anything wrong, right? And we've covered the stats many times over, and I don't want to get into a whole stat war on it, but the reality is women are not, sugar and spice and everything nice. Far, far from it. But accountability is like kryptonite, to use Lindsay's favorite phrase, and they will not acknowledge that women are violent, very violent, as violent as men. They get away with it more. You look at, say, the murder stats, women get downcharged significantly more. So men will get charged murder 1 or 2. Women will get manslaughter, and then they don't show up in the murder stats, which skews the stats. I did a whole video on this. It's in my Falsehoods of Feminism series. And yet when I point women to that, they won't watch it, right? Because then they might have to confront reality, because I have all the stats in there. I came with receipts. But, I want to kind of get back to what I was talking about earlier, because it's so important. Is the reason this whole narrative exists is to make women afraid, right? And it goes back to feminism wanting to control women. It has never been about equality. It's about control. It is a cult. We've talked about this many, many, many times. Go look up the definition of a cult, and you can look up all the criteria. And these are not my criteria. These are ones that have been officially brought up. Feminism hits every single one without exception. There is not one criteria feminism doesn't hit. So men are the boogeyman that cults create. So they create fear and then create this myth that the cult will protect them. And that's what's going on. And the problem is, when you look at reality in the real world, women walk down the street every single day. Go walk down the streets in New York City. You're not going to be attacked.
Well, the girl did the video where she walked around with the camera crew for like 9 hours and she barely got anything. She had to, and she did in the middle of the day. But so there's a lot of truth to that. I've been saying this for years, is scared people. And we learned this with the pandemic on a wider scale, but scared people are easy to control. Scared people are panicky.
Yep.
And Benjamin Franklin famously said that those who will sacrifice a small amount of liberty for the illusion of safety deserve neither and will lose both. And so scared women, or scared anyone, but scared women specifically, are very, very easy to control. And if you listen to the fear mongering, they would have it like, to hear a feminist talk, if I step 3 feet outside my door, I'm going to be attacked. I'm going to be held down. I'm going to be raped.
That's the point I'm making. Exactly that.
And what does that accomplish? Making women terrified? It doesn't, other than to control them. And
that's what
we're coming back to, and they're making actually the different argument is that there's a cultural perception bias that women are more vulnerable because we're not as dangerous. And ironically, what feminism has done by making women so afraid of men is they have blinded women to the dangers inherent in other women. So we claim to care about female victims, but when a female victim is a victim of another woman, oh, they don't count. The number of people I saw in my comment section sit there and say that the women who were telling their stories about being victimized by another woman, like I had one woman sit there in my comment, she was talking about how she was a nurse and she wouldn't treat someone or didn't give drugs to someone on her shift. So that night when she got off work, her patient's friends were waiting for her. 3 women jumped her and beat her almost to death. And she was talking about how, men didn't do that. In fact, it was men who came to her rescue. They heard her screaming and they came out of the hospital and they came and they pulled the women off her. But this idea that men are the ones we should be afraid of and not ourselves, one, you're making women afraid of the group of people that's actually more likely to come rescue you, because who are you going to call when you've been attacked? The police and first responders, which are all men.
Exactly. All right, we're about a half hour in. Do your little thingy there. There it is. I'll put the little signy up there. Give us some love. We're getting a lot of love today, actually. We got 17,000 likes already. So apparently we're making some people happy and we're pissing a whole bunch off.
Well, the people that are pissed off are the ones that need to hear the message the most, because look, ladies, they're not going to listen. But honestly, I respect women enough to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So like I tell people all the time in my comment section, I care about you enough not to lie to you, not to sugarcoat it, not to coddle you, because you're a strong, independent woman and you don't need to be coddled. You don't need to be coddled by me. You don't need to be coddled by men. If you want to be coddled, I suggest go get your lollipop and go find a safe room somewhere and never leave your house. But if you want to join the adult world and live in the adult world and have freedoms, because freedoms come with responsibilities. And one of the responsibilities you have as being a free individual is your own personal safety. Think about it like driving a car. Every time you get behind the wheel, you have the possibility of getting into a car accident. Even if you take every single precaution, that's why they're called accidents. Because while you can control your own environment, you can't necessarily control all of the drivers around you. So I was taught by my mother and my father, because yes, I had both parents. I call that a flex.
It is these days.
My dad is the one who taught me about risk assessment, by the way, to never.
And that's what dads do.
What dads do, which is one of the biggest reasons why it's so important.
That was the biggest problem right there.
Why so it is so important to have dads in their children's lives, both daughters and sons. And if you get in your car, every time you drive, you run a risk of something happening to you. So you have to take every single precaution. Drive safely. Don't be on the phone. Don't be listening to music so loud you can't hear the ambulance coming up behind you. Don't just go straight ahead. Look in all of your mirrors periodically. Like, be aware of your surroundings. And we recognize that when we drive, but for some god-awful reason that I cannot understand, women decide to throw that completely out the window when it comes to, walking around. Although I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere about female drivers and not paying attention. So maybe it is a universal thing. And maybe I'm just the exception. I blame my autism.
Let's say a word. You're on a roll. I'm just going to sit here and listen.
But
we keep circling around the same thing, which is that it's about self-responsibility, right? And the thing is, they want to make it about gender, but the reality is it's not about gender, right? Whether you're a man or a woman, there are times and places you're at risk, and it can be in the most innocuous of places. You can be in the most dangerous of places and not have a problem at all, right? It's hit and miss. You're never going to know. There's no definitive one way or the other that you can ever for sure know it's going to be bad or good. You can assume, yes, and that's what people do. And that's why it goes back to situational awareness. Your head always needs to be on a swivel. You need to be prepared at all times. Women generally want this kumbaya perfect world where nothing ever happens. It never has existed. It never will. And I'm not even referring to just human beings. Go out in the wild. Your animals are at risk. Bears eat other animals. I hate to tell you, the salmon swimming up the river, the bear's a threat to him. To believe that you're going to not ever have violence is insane. It's just part of biology. I'm not even going to say human nature. It's part of biology, right? And it's been that way for literally millions of years. It's not going to go away. So this whole phenomenon that the cult of feminism wants to create that has women living in fear so that, to your point, Lindsay, they stay home all the time. Oh, I can't go out the door. Well, that's how they get them under control. And again, we're not in any way, shape, or form trying to minimize anything that happens to any victim, male or female, because unfortunately things do happen. But you want to do everything you can to mitigate the risk. Even, I use myself. I am a big guy. I know how to protect myself. I am armed every time I leave my house, but there's still a chance. Somebody bigger, somebody faster draw, somebody whatever could take me out. I understand that. I live with that risk myself at all times, especially doing what I do. The other day I had someone come up to me in the grocery store. They knew who I was. Dude, I love your videos, right? It was a very innocent little thing. Great. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. And I've had that happen a few times. But the chances of a kook doing the same, one of these crazies that we just had, they could come at me. It's happened to others. We know of people, both Lindsay and I do. The threats Lindsay's gotten, and you talk about all the time, Lindsay, they're not from men, they're from women, right? So we need to acknowledge that this isn't a gender issue. It is in this case, human being issue, but it's really a nature issue because it happens throughout the animal kingdom. Hell, it happens to plants. Some plants take over other plants, okay?
Invasive species.
Yeah. So, to believe that there's going to be this kumbaya world, like the meme that goes around, if all men disappeared, we wouldn't need protection, right? Bullshit, you wouldn't.
So I got that comment, like talking about curfews for men. And I'm like, the problem with that, right? Only the men who you never had to worry about would follow the curfew. And then amongst those men are also all of the people who would come and save you. So you're going to be left with only the men who don't give two shits about following curfew and all of the women that are just as bad.
Yeah.
And we were talking about you're going to be dangerous. Let's say in my backyard. I live in Texas. My backyard is full of black widow spiders, brown recluse, the occasional rattlesnake of various sizes. There was a cottonmouth in the back of my corner of my behind my fence last week. We got a really big rain, and they love water. So if I'm not careful or aware of my surroundings, I could step on something and die. And that has nothing to do with men. Like, even if you were to get rid of all men, one, you'd still have to worry about dangerous women out there. And two, you'd have to worry about all of the other things that can kill you. Living on planet Earth, as a citizen of Earth, you are not entitled to a danger-free, risk-free existence. If that's what you want, then I suggest you build a rocket and go to Mars. But then you would die of asphyxiation anyway, so...
and radiation.
But more than once in my comment section, I was like, and this is why the aliens won't visit us. They're like, look at these people arguing over stupid stuff. We're the planet that when the aliens speed by, they lock their doors and drive faster.
Yeah, and like in the comments in TikTok, like Perso just said, there's much men and women who are bad to the bottom. Yes, there are, right? Your reverse Uno card just said there are bad and horrible people on both genders. Yes, there are, right? But the other thing is, while there are a lot, it's a minuscule number, relatively speaking, right? And I've done the stats on this, and I know you have, Lindsay, before, but it's less than 0.5% of the population that's truly bad, right? I'm not talking white collar crime. I'm talking things like rape, murder, that kind of stuff, right? Is a very, very small number. So when you want to live your life based on, I'm just going to round 1/2 of 1% of the population, that's your choice. You're certainly welcome to do that. But you're harming yourself doing that, right? I keep coming back to it. You could walk down the streets of New York City or any big city, Dallas, Texas, whatever, right? If you do that, the odds of you getting attacked are actually relatively low. Do crimes happen? Every single day, right? New York City has crimes every single day. But New York City has 8 million and counting people, right? So I've walked down the streets in New York City, I don't know how many times. I'm situationally aware. I've never seen a crime happen, like a violent crime, ever, right? For me to say that means that they don't happen is ridiculous, right? For me to also say, well, I know they happen, so it's going to happen to me every single time I set foot out of the house, which is what a lot of women believe, is also equally ridiculous. It is, on a sliding scale. Certain areas are more dangerous. Yes, you go to certain parts of New York City, there are certain, where I was originally from in upstate New York, there were certain neighborhoods that I used to do repossessions back in the 80s. I worked for Rent-A-Center. I used to have to go repossess things like furniture in the hood, right? I was the big white boy from Rent-A-Center. They all knew me. I never once lived in fear. Never once, right? And I was in some bad, bad areas, right? But I never once lived in fear because I respected them and they respected me. And that's, other people would go, "Oh my God, you went on, it was one street called Mumford Street. You were on Mumford Street? Yeah. You can't go there. It's drug dens and blah, blah." And it is. But this was in the 80s. Yeah. But I'm not going to assume that every single person I see on that street is a bad person because 95% of them are actually pretty good people. I used to joke with them, laugh with them. They hand me sodas or tea or, pop, they called it, whatever. Um, Never a problem. They also knew that I was aware of what was going on and always had my head on a swivel. But if you showed respect to them, there was never going to be a problem. Does that mean there weren't criminals around? Better believe there were. I mean, they were selling drugs on the corner. So it's all, it's sliding scale. And unfortunately, so many people are so worried about the far end of the scale, they're missing the width and breadth of the good that's out there. And you keep talking about, Lindsay, all the first responders, all the police, 85% of the police are men. That number's total police force. You look at the ones actually on the street, the number is actually significantly higher, right? So you want to get men off the street? Okay, who's going to protect you? They ain't going to be women. There's not enough of them. And they won't step up to do the job. So,
well, not only that, but like I said earlier with the whole men's curfew, the only people that would follow the curfew are the men who you have nothing to worry
yeah,
about in the first place. And so that leaves women to protect you against the dangerous men. And I don't care how many boss bitch badass Marvel movies you watch, the average woman will never be able to take the average man.
not going to happen ever.
Especially not if
Actually, the strongest, most powerful woman most likely will not take the average man.
so like if you ladies, if you don't believe me, go ask your significant other to tickle you. When I get locked, Mr. Squirrely, I'll be tickling Mr. Squirrely, and Mr. Squirrely will suddenly just be kind of just kind of casually holding me, and I can thrash all I want. I cannot get out of his hold. And if that's not a humbling experience, I mean, hell, my 11-year-old is getting to be very, very strong. And he still hasn't even hit his stride yet.
Oh, it's coming soon, though.
So
he's right there on that age.
Right there. And talking about, size issues, I have my eldest son who's getting ready to turn 12. And then I have my youngest son who's 9. The other day, he absolutely tried to hurt me. He was mad at me because he failed a class and I took away his electronics, and he came up and he tried to hit me as hard as he could. It stung a little bit, but he wasn't very successful because he's tiny.
And that dad came home.
He made the mistake of I saw Mr. Squirrel coming up behind him, and
man.
I let him do it, and he hit, and I grunted, and then we hear the boom of, "What did you just do to your mother?"
Yep, I know. I can see it.
He spun around.
I know your husband. I know exactly what he was going to do. It would be the same thing I would do. I'm laughing. It's a bad thing, but I was like, that kid's lucky to be alive.
But that is an example of the size difference between me and my youngest son is not it's very indicative of the size difference between the average woman and the average man. And my 9-year-old was unsuccessful. He truly intended to hurt me. He was very unsuccessful. So if that's about the size difference, what do you think is going to happen between a girl and a guy? Especially if that girl is wearing very impractical footwear, slightly inebriated, distracted by her phone or her headphones or her friends. Like, at least, like, I had one woman ask me, she said, how can I mitigate the damage? Because I was attacked in broad daylight at a grocery store. And I'm like, I'm not going to say I doubt you, but let's pretend for a minute that I believe you. Because she made a whole bunch of other wild claims, like she'd been attacked here, and after about the 5th I've been attacked, I was like, okay, Goldilocks.
You're brutal.
So she's like, well, how can I mitigate my damage if I'm at the grocery store? And I go, do you really not know? Okay, well, since your daddy apparently didn't teach you, Big Sister Squirrely is going to tell you what you don't do when you go to the grocery store. If you can park next to a cart return, do so. That means you only have to worry about 3 sides of your vehicle instead of 4. When you get to your vehicle, don't open the thing up until you get to your vehicle. Put your keys, your purse, your phone, and your children in the car, and then lock the doors. Load the back of your car, then close it, take the cart back, look all around, and then when you this is the big one that girls, for some reason, women are horrible at this. They get in the driver's side seat, and then they sit there. They'll play with their phone. They'll check their messages. They'll play with
my wife does that one.
They'll play with the radio. So if you're going to get in your car, lock your car. And when I worked overnights, this actually saved me. I had to go to the store. It was later in the year, so it got dark very quickly. I parked as close to the front of the parking lot as I could get. I followed all of my own advice. And then when I got into my car, someone had popped up that I hadn't seen. And because I locked my door as soon as I sat down, they yanked on my handle and nothing happened.
Yeah. Well, one thing you missed, and I'll mention it now, is make sure you look in the back seat before you even open your door. Right? Something I automatically do. I just look in the back, because if they get in your car and they're hiding in the back seat and you're not paying attention, that's when you're really at risk, right? And it doesn't happen often, but it happens, right?
And women also think that this is a unique, well, women have to do this, women have to do this, women have to do this. And I'm like, no, humans have to do this, because.
But men do it naturally, right? They inherently know to keep their head on a swivel. And some men are not good at it, because I see it all the time, right? Usually the ones that didn't have dad at their house, because this is what dads teach their children, right? I taught my daughters this, I taught my sons this, all this stuff. Again, it goes back to situational awareness. Look, there is bad in the world. Nothing we say or do is ever going to change that fact. It's just a part of being on this planet. It is what it is. Is it as huge a risk as everybody wants you to believe? No, it is not, right? The media is going to sensationalize it. Feminists do their thing. But that doesn't mean there's not a risk. So you have to do, as I keep saying over and over, mitigate that risk as much as possible. Do smart, simple things. Does it eliminate the risk? No, it doesn't. But it can take it down to a very low level. And most of it is just common sense. And, when I see some crimes happen. And I sit there along the lines of what you were just talking about. You know, there was a Walmart near me a couple of probably 3 years ago now. There was a murder that happened in the parking lot. Happened to be two women and one guy murdered another guy, right? And I don't know how many times, and I know right in the parking lot where it was. I don't know how many times I've been right near that spot. The same Walmart about a year ago, maybe a little bit less, 9 months ago, somebody shot the manager in the store. Okay. I don't walk in that Walmart and I'm not armed. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it. Right. But again, it's always keeping aware. Does that mean I will not set foot in that Walmart? No, it's the only one around. What am I going to do? You know, it's common sense. And, you know, the problem is, I want to kind of not morph this, but kind of bring up something that I'm seeing a lot of in the last week, because it's now becoming a trend on TikTok in particular, which is all these girls, and they are girls, not women, because they're in, and when I say this, I'm talking teens and 20s, making these videos. So how I feel when I think about slapping a man, or the first time.
Like when they're looking at their hand and
yeah, and I'm going to be doing a video on it, right? And I'm sitting there going, what the are you thinking, right? Wouldn't recommend doing that, because you're going to get hurt. You know, to your point about the difference between men and women, I've shared this story on this show before. I am a personal trainer. I ran fitness classes. I had a 3rd degree black belt in one of my classes. And they used to joke, she didn't, but all the other girls did, how she would kick my ass anytime she wanted. So for fun, we set it up one day where we were going to spar. Right now, I have some training, but I am not a 3rd degree black belt. I bear hugged her and put her on the ground. That was the end of it. She couldn't do a fucking thing, right? I mean, and she was 225 and pretty ripped, but I outweighed her by 60 something pounds, right? And I just basically laid on her. She could, and I had her in a bear hug. She couldn't move her arms. You know, I know enough how to avoid the legs. She was helpless. And she got up and, to her credit, looked at the women and go, this is what you don't want to do. Don't provoke men like that. Right. And I'm paraphrasing it, but that's exactly what's going on with these girls, that you're going to put all these videos out, how you're going to slap men. Some girl is going to think, okay, that makes it okay for me to do it. And she's going to get hurt bad. Because if some girl randomly walked up to me and slapped me, she assaulted me. I got the right to defend myself. Doesn't matter if she's a girl, right? You know, you do not promote that. And yet TikTok's allowing those videos to be up. But if a guy made the same video, which I am going to make the same video. My prediction is it will be down within 5 minutes. And I don't care about TikTok anymore because nobody's watching it. And I mean, my views are in the hundreds. They used to be in the tens of thousands. But so I don't care if they take my account down. But it's that mindset that these girls, and again, I don't think the older women so much are falling for this, but they're making these videos. And hey, I'm going to slap them. Go ahead, honey. Watch what happens. Because the problem is then they get drunk and then they get in bars and they do it.
So I have only ever hit, I'm not telling myself, one person. And they were 16. I was an adult though, but they pushed my kid. They yanked my kid off a slide and they threw him to the ground, and my poor child looked up at them like, what was that? What was that? And you can't do anything because I'm a girl. What are you going to do about it?
Poof. Done.
I waited for her to get halfway up that slide before I reached up, grabbed her by her hair, and yanked her down.
That's kick fighting. You're not supposed to do that.
Well, I had to get her down first. Then I slapped her. Well, actually, I didn't slap her. I punched her in the face. Said, "If you ever put your hands on my child again, I'll put you in the ground." And she looked up at me like, "Oh," like
Yeah,
she.
because
Well, no, but it speaks to the fact that she was not expecting anyone to clap back. She just thought that
we just got taken down.
I'm the problem. It's me. I did it. Me.
Down until the 28th. For promoting violent and criminal behavior. Thanks, Lindsay. You just got me banned. I don't care.
But no, okay, so the irony of this. Do you understand the irony? We got banned for me promoting a mother protecting her child.
It's all good. Let me just move this screen over here now because then it makes it easier.
Sorry, guys. I'm
that's funny.
I'm the problem. It's me.
So we're still up on
everywhere else, but
and we're not promoting violence, you know, but what we're trying to say is don't be violent,
because this
we're saying the exact opposite of what they're accusing us of, right? And it's funny because I'm just dying here. I just think this is funnier than shit. You know, it's I'm sorry, I'm just too busy laughing.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Oh no, I'll go down to from 400 views per video to 200 on TikTok. Oh no, I'll only make, I don't know, 14 cents this month. TikTok's a shit show now. Which is why I'm laughing so hard. It's like, ooh. But I lost track of thought.
Well,
Talk.
no, okay, no, I'm confused because is it just because we were on your channel? Because I've seen women promoting.
Oh yeah. But that's the point, right? Women can say anything they want, do anything they want, and it's okay. You know, I'm just cracking up about it. I'm waiting to see if they bring it back. I still have it open, but we're not coming back now. It's in the review. But I mean, again, it's if women promote violence, it's okay. But if a man and a woman say, don't be dumb enough to do this.
Because that girl that did that to my kid, the one that was on the teen girl who was on the playground, and she did what she did because she was not expecting anyone to clap back at her. She thought that she was in the free and clear, that I can do whatever I want and no one's going to clap back at me. And she was wrong. And so all these women that are all these girls you're talking about are going around like, you know, wait, I can't wait to find out what it's like to slap a man. They're going to learn the exact same lesson that girl did, that eventually.
So they took us down, but I haven't seen one of those videos taken down. So it's okay for them to do that. But you and I saying don't do it
because this will happen to you.
Make it make sense. And this goes to exactly what your post is about, right? It's the double standard that exists, and it's all designed to create this narrative.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, not only that, but this idea that so women are, by and large, the safer of the men and women. Women are in society more safe because men will rush to their help. Men won't necessarily rush to the help of other men. And it has created a false sense of security in many women. Case in point, not paying any attention to your, surroundings, thinking that you should be able to walk around, at night and do whatever the hell you want without anyone coming up to you. And now the next evolution of that false sense of security is now they think, well, I'm going to go up and just slap a random guy. And you're going to get away with it a couple times. I can almost guarantee maybe.
Maybe.
But then there's always that one time you don't. And you're going to hit the wrong person and they're going to punch you back, not beat the crap out of you, just defend themselves.
And that's right. If one of them did that to me, I wouldn't even think It would be my natural response, right? It's just, some of it is training. I admit that, but just in general, if you hit someone, they're going to hit you back. It's stupid. And that's why we're trying. That's why I'm cracking up about TikTok, right? Is we're saying, don't do this stuff. Don't be an idiot. We get taken down, but they can promote slapping guys. And it's just like, shows you what a shit show it is. Anyway, we're about an hour in. Let's do the love thing again, because we're due for one, which I'm not prepared for. So keep doing it. I'm just still cracking up, Lindsay. I just think it's funnier now.
You were doing well before that, so.
Well, they used to take us down in 5 minutes on every live show we did for a while. We thought we would try it again, and maybe we're done on there. I don't care. But kind of, I want to go back to how do we fix this? I guess where I want to go with it. So, which is what you're trying to do with your post, right? Is to raise awareness that, hey, yes, there's a threat out there, but it's not every man. And it's not every moment of your life. Stop living in fear 24/7. I think that's the gist of what you were trying to do. And seeing the vitriol that you received, the violence against you, if you will, do you think there's any way to change it?
I'm just going to continue. We are getting, believe it or not, there were quite a few women on my post in the comment section, even that were helping me do battle, if you will, against the naysayers. There are plenty of women out there that are, I think it is slowly beginning to change the tide. So we just need to keep basically slogging through the mud, which is repetitive, unfortunately. But it's up to, as I keep saying, like in a lot of my Facebook posts, especially lately, is my Facebook channel, at least, is dedicated to basically addressing women, because I always talk to women, and I am growing a female audience, of going, hey, ladies, let's talk. And that kind of big sister with latte in hand energy of, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to sugarcoat you. I'm going to treat you like a fully autonomous, intelligent adult who respects you enough to tell you the truth. And the truth is that these behaviors that we keep perpetuating, these societal and cultural narratives are hurting us. And if we want to change them, because we're complaining about all these problems, well, only diagnosing the men's side is not going to save us, because we have to look at the entire bevy of symptoms. But we're only focusing on certain symptoms because they're man-shaped, and we're ignoring our contributions to the problem. So even if you were to, get rid of every man on earth tomorrow, some of these problems would still persist, because it's not just the men who are perpetuating them. And more we're starting to see, or at least I'm starting to see, more and more women, like I follow feminists mostly because I need content, but more and more I'm seeing women like me in the comment section that are going, now, wait a minute.
Now, that's something I'm seeing too, by the way, right? And it's interesting because we've talked about this for a couple of years now, the pendulum changing, right? I think it's really starting to change more and more. Now, is it where it needs to be? No, but more and more women are going, no, this is not right. And I guess the question I have for you, because I didn't read all the comments on there, so I don't have that kind of time, but the ones that I know they are attacking you, but the ones that were defending you, what was the reaction to them by the other women?
Shock, I think, and then immediate excommunication.
Yeah, you get thrown out of the cult, right?
Because you questioned it, and
we afraid of a cult, by the way.
And some of these women who were defending me, going, "Hey, now," and I got a couple messages from them going, "Oh my God, like I just got called a misogynist. I just got called all these names. How do you put up with it? How do you deal with it?" Because and I had many of them sit there and say, I'm a feminist. I believe in, women's equality. And that's all that you're asking for is equality. But they're calling me like all these names. What happened? And I go, you used your brain. You thought outside the box, and you're not allowed to do that.
Yep.
in the cult that is feminism. And they're like, feminism isn't a cult. And I go, but isn't it though? Because here you and I are, and we're thinking outside the lane that feminists say we need to be in. And it used to be that women were celebrated for having a diverse number of ideas, because diversity of thought's the only real diversity that matters. And we were celebrated for that. Now it's, you must think a certain way. By virtue of being female, you must think a certain way. You must parrot a certain, set of ideas. And if you don't, you're a traitor, you're a misogynist, you're a tool of the patriarchy, you're all these things. And we had a nice little conversation in the private messages. And by the end of it, she was like, I never thought of it that way, but you know what? You're not wrong.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Is they don't realize it till it happens to them. And a lot of them are probably guilty of doing it too. And it gets them thinking. And, it makes me wonder, like, what are they thinking after that? Like, they talk to you and they have their come to Jesus moment. What are they thinking after that? I would love to talk to them, say, a week afterward. Like, I just wanted to check in with you, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you could do this. What are you thinking now? Let's talk about it. Because at least they're willing to have a dialogue with you. And I've had conversations with women along the same lines where I've opened their eyes on things. And one, it short circuits their brain immediately. But, women are intelligent, and they start thinking about it, and they start questioning everything they believe. That's what I have generally found. Not always, but most of the time they start, well, if this is what they're saying about this and it's not true, what about this? And then they start, that's how you see them lose, their belief in feminism, right? You see it also in politics, right? You're seeing, there's the whole walk away thing from one side. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds on that, but you're seeing the same thing happen, right? So like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense to me. And then they start questioning everything. And then they start doing the research, and it's like, wait a minute, I believe this and it's not true. And some really struggle with it. And that's where we, meaning, in this case, us men, need to be willing to dialogue with them and accept that, what, they had some beliefs, maybe they were wrong, but here's an opportunity to educate them, not bash them for their beliefs, right? And I think men are generally willing to do that. There are exceptions. There's some angry men out there, and I'm not going to excuse their behavior, but it would be interesting to see, you'll be around, but I won't be in, say, 20 or 30 years, how far back the other way it goes. And I think it will, right? You'll see the pendulum is changing. You're seeing more and more women stepping up to defend men, to call out feminism. I think my fear, to be honest with you, is it'll go too far the other way, because that's the way it goes back and forth, and eventually finds the middle. Whether our society will survive it is another question, but it's interesting, the hive mindset, and when you break them out of the Borg, right? 7 of 9, how they really struggle with it. And you were seeing that with some of the people you were talking to, right?
Right. And believe it or not, we had one guy who made a very innocuous comment. He said, and this is one of my first comments on the video, or not the video, the post. He said, technically the only way we can ensure women's 100% safety is to take away all their rights. And then in the immediate next sentence says, I don't believe in doing that. Basically saying that the only way to take complete control over women, lock them in a room somewhere, and they would be much more safe than they are now. And he's not wrong. And the analogy that we used later was, if I wanted my children to live in a risk-free, danger-free world, I could lock them in a room and never let them outside.
Same argument, right?
Same argument. But we had people over and over and over again saying, he wants to take away rights. He wants to take away rights. He said, no.
That's what they focus on, right?
Because that's what they focus on. And the immediate next sentence after he said that goes, I don't believe this at all. I think women are equal to men and should have all the rights afforded men. But that also means all of the responsibilities, including their own safety. And there was this one guy that went back and forth with us until I finally gave him another analogy. I finally said that, look, Us saying that would be like, we're not saying we're saying this is the truth of how it's going to happen. We're not saying we want to do it. We're acknowledging this as
Right.
the only way to do something, but we're not endorsing it. And that's like saying, well, people die all the time of drunk drivers, so the only way to make sure that nobody dies of a drunk driver is to completely ban cars. Now, nobody is saying
And drinking.
and drinking, but no one is saying that. We're just saying that's technically the only way to ensure it. And then I actually got a very heartfelt apology from this guy. He goes, "Oh my God, you're right. Once I applied a little bit of irony to it, I see your point." And he actually said the words, "I was absolutely and completely wrong. You are correct." And I was like,
It was a guy though.
it was a guy though, but still, even on internet discourse,
yeah, I get your point.
it's very rare that someone will admit that they were wrong. Normally, if they realize they're wrong, they just stop commenting.
Well, and I mean, along those lines, the same thing, right? What you're seeing, the other issue is all of this constant narrative is causing men to not come to the help of women anymore, right? I saw, it was on TikTok because it's a cesspool, but this woman standing on the side of the road with a flat tire, bitching and moaning at all the guys driving by that wouldn't stop to help change it for her. Well, it's because you think men are a risk. So why would any man put himself in that position? Because if you think he's a risk and he does something you think could be the most innocuous of things, but you think he was doing something, you're filing charges, brings in the false allegations thing. So again, going back to what you said earlier, women are hurting themselves with this, right? Because there's zero chance in hell I would stop and help a woman with a flat tire. 3-4 years ago, absolutely, I would have every single time. Now, I'll call the sheriff for her. Hey, there's a woman on the side of the road. Can you go help her? I'll do that for her. More than happy to. But I ain't stopping. No way. I will not. My freedom, my life is too valuable. I don't care. Let her sit there and rot. And I hate having to believe that. But I am not going to jail because she decides, this big bald guy said something I didn't like and he was going to grate me when all I was doing was getting the tire iron out of her trunk or whatever, right? It's just, and you're seeing more and more guys have that mindset, and they should. And it's going to be the same thing when you see violent crime, right? Violent crimes happen. We saw the one one shooting, which was unfortunate in the hockey thing, where the guys went and jumped the guy or whatever, right, to stop the shooter. More and more guys are going to go, nope, not my circus, not my monkeys, right? It's, like I said before, I'm armed at all times. I would, if a shooter was going on, I'm going to back into a corner or someplace safe with my weapon. So if they come at me, I can stop them. I'm not going to go looking for them. That's just begging for trouble. And oh, by the way, if the cops show up and see you with the weapon, you're the one that they're going to take down. I hate to tell you. So you got to be smart about it. But it's causing men to not come to the help of women. I think they're still willing to come to the help of children, though. I think that's still there. But the number of women that are like, they won't help me. What do you expect? You say you're afraid of us all the time. Anything we do, you view negatively. You're making false allegations by the millions every year. What do you expect? Do you not think this through?
You can't simultaneously sit there and say over and over and over again that you're afraid of men. And at some point, they're going to be like, all right, well, I don't want to make you afraid. Because most good men do not want women to be afraid of them.
Exactly. And yet that's exactly what they're doing too, right? They're causing that. And it's sad because, again, we'll go back to, there is always going to be evil in this world. You are not going to eliminate it. You're just not. So wouldn't you want the 99.5% of people who are good to support you instead of labeling all of them the same as the 0.5 that aren't? Make it make sense to me, because that's what they're doing. Well, you're a threat. Why am I a threat? Well, you're a man. Okay, see ya. I got nothing to do with no further use for you anymore.
You recuse yourself, and then when they do need you, it's where have all the good men gone? Where have the men gone that they help us?
They're all princesses. They won't step up and do what's right
because you told them not to.
You told us not to. And you threatened us if we did. So no, we're not going to do it. And I get it, and I totally condone that action by men. Don't do it. Don't come to their help anymore, because there's nothing good that's going to happen. You know, there's a very slim chance you'll be seen as a hero. There's an equal or worse chance you're going to be seen as a perpetrator, because the number of men I have interviewed that have been charged, not always found guilty, but charged because of stuff like this, it ain't worth it, because you could be out hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to defend yourself. You could be in jail for weeks for the most innocuous of things. You're not going to get that time back. And no, you're not going to be able to sue her. She's not going to be held accountable. You know, I'm still dealing with this case down in Florida. I will not let go of it. They're now another month in. They know the woman lied. They know she made a false allegation. They arrested him in days based on what she said. It is now it's October, November. So November, December, January, February, 4 full months. And they have not even charged her. And they had the evidence in mid-October. Are you kidding me? You know, it's ridiculous. And the sad part is it's leading to the breakdown of society. You know, I mean,
but I can't.
And nothing good is going to come from it.
I do think that that's what they want. They don't want us working together because we're stronger together than we are apart.
Well, exactly.
Women are
100%.
making women afraid of men. They have accidentally made men afraid of women. And if we're both afraid of each other, then we're going to stay the hell away from each other. And we're never going to team up. Why would the antelope make an alliance with the lion if they're deathly afraid that the lion's going to eat them? Why would the lion make an alliance with the gazelle if they're afraid they're going to gore them to death with, their horns? So, like, we're back to scared people are easy to control.
That's what it's ultimately what it's all about. You know, I haven't seen any comments coming in recently on the other channels.
Seen it either, but
no, I hope we're still. Are we up, guys? Somebody comment just so we know. Just say anything, because I haven't seen a comment come in 10 minutes, which usually where they're nonstop. Ever since we got taken down on TikTok, which is killing me. I just think it's so funny. It just shows you nothing's changed with TikTok, has it? It's still the shit show it's always been. Whether it's Oracle that owns it or the Chinese government, it still is what it is.
We're on air, but guys, YouTube guys, and everyone else, say something.
YouTube, Facebook, all the other ones. Somebody say something, or are we not? I think we're on air, aren't we? I wonder, did we lose that too?
Did we stop talking? It says we're live on.
Yeah, it says I'm live on my channel too. So weird. Because normally Steve is on. So Steve, say something, because I know you're listening. Country was on earlier.
He's listening to something or doing something construction.
But yeah, I am really. Oh, we got a wave. Okay, so at least you're hearing. All right, we were a little worried there. Thank you, Free Cat. Free Cat. Say that fast.
Free cat.
So we got about 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much said all I have to say on the topic. Anything else you want to add?
No, not really. I mean, we kind of got kicked off of our comment factory because I'm the problem, guys. It's me.
Well, I was going to open it up for questions, but there's nobody in the comments. So if you have questions, because we're kind of done with the topic, feel free to jump in, ask any questions. There's Steve. There was one earlier. Let me go find
Aggressive nugget. Aggressive nugget. I like that. My kid, my youngest, has a sign in his room, a little chick. It looks like Rambo going, "I refuse to be a nugget."
Jim's banned cameras. That was 30 minutes ago from Mark. I don't know if he's still on. I saw it pop up, but I didn't want to go there because we were on topic. So what do you think, Lindsay? I've already shared my opinion a million times, and I'm a former gym owner.
Yes. They should ban.
Just blanket, yeah?
Yes. I mean, security cameras are necessary, but like personal cameras, like the ability to record in the gym on your phone, unless we can somehow create an actual binding legal waiver that says if you do this, you waive any right to accuse anyone of anything, which I don't think it's possible. So I'm for a blanket ban.
I'm not, to be honest with you.
But
go ahead.
I think that maybe, because I know that cameras can be used to check form.
Well, I mean, that's, as I train people online, right? So the only way I can check their form is if they have a camera in the gym with them, right?
Right. So what about like practice rooms or like private rooms?
Well, the problem is like they're using, say, a squat rack. You're out in public, but there's a simple solution for it. So instead of putting it out in the middle of the floor, like, and this is what I tell my clients, you most of the time, not always, but the majority of gyms, the squat rack is usually up against or very near a wall, right? So you could put your camera right against the wall and all you're going to see is yourself, right? If you make sure that you're the only image in there. And then you don't have to worry about anybody else and nobody's going to see anything and I can check your form and all that. This is a hot button topic in the gym owners. I can tell you right now because I'm still in the groups. And generally speaking, they're struggling with it, just like you're hearing me say, because there are times it is valuable use. When I'm working out, sometimes I do record myself because I'm checking my own form, right? But I do so the way I just described to you. That's how I know about it. The squat racks that I use are over in the corner anyway. They're not out in the main area. But the gym I used to work at, and the gym I owned, you were right out in public. I mean, there was no way people are going to be there. But there's a smart way of doing it and there's a dumb way of doing it. The problem is the dumb ones are the ones that are abusing the privilege. And and let me put the other caveat in real quick. Don't be doing it in the bathrooms, please. All right. That's instant ban as far as, in fact, it's illegal. So if I still own the gym and I found out somebody was recording in a bathroom, I would call the police and have them arrested because that is illegal. Right. That's your big no. But as gym owners, it's a tough one because we understand and many of us use them as a tool. But we also know they're being abused. And, I hesitate to say that we need a blanket ban on it, but I'm going to tell you what's coming in the probably not too distant future, which is the insurance companies are going to ban them.
Yeah, probably.
To give you perspective, when I first opened my gym 2013, I did not have cameras up. And the insurance company came in to do an inspection. He's like, "Where's your cameras?" I'm like, "I don't have cameras. I don't need them." He goes, we will not cover you without cameras. They want cameras in the gyms for the gym owners. So if somebody gets hurt, you can see the video and see what they did. Long story short, a few years later, we had a guy literally drop dead. One of our trainers saved his life. I have the video of it. Not that he was ever going to sue us. He's to this day is so grateful, but theory he could have, right? So that's why the insurance companies require the gyms to have it. I can see where the insurance companies are going to do the same thing. You need to ban gyms or ban cameras in your gym because the potential liability of a lawsuit against the gym owner, even though they did nothing, is pretty huge. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, and it probably has, and they're settling out of court. But it's not if, but when somebody who gets shamed or is filmed in the background and one of these women makes a video mocking him, he's going to sue the gym for it. And he's probably going to win.
Or he's going to sue
And
her, and then she's going to sue the gym because
it's a whole, it could be any or all of the above, right? But the problem is then the insurance company's got to defend it. And they're not going to want to do that. And gym insurance is not cheap. I mean, I was paying $5,000 a month for insurance. So, you know, I think the time is coming, 12 to 18 months, where you'll see them banned. And it's going to be insurance companies that drive it. And trust me, the gym owners are talking about it, because I'm in those groups. You know, we have our private Facebook groups. It's frequently talked about. Joey Swoll has done a lot on this. I love that guy.
I love him.
He's great.
So nice. I mean,
he's probably the driving factor that's causing the gym owners to speak up so much. And when I say the owners, I'm talking about the actual owners. Because most people think, oh, Planet Fitness, you know, it's Planet Fitness. No, Planet Fitnesses are franchises.
It's like McDonald's.
Like McDonald's, yeah. So, you know, yeah, the corporate has their rules, but the gym owners have theirs, and they're talking about it. It's a no-win situation for the owners. People say, well, you should just ban it. Well, if you do that, you're going to lose a part of your membership. And gyms are hurting right now. With the economy being the way it is, especially since COVID, they are hurting. You have no idea how many gyms are on this close to closing. It's as bad as the restaurants. Because you don't make a ton of money. People think gyms make a crap load of money. Your margin is usually 1 to 5%. Mine was a little higher because I was good at managing, but most gyms you're lucky if you're making 1 to 5%. And yeah, if you're making 100,000 a month in memberships, then it's pretty decent, but that's few and far between. So that's that one. Enough said on that.
We only have like 4 minutes, but we lost all of our comment fodder when they kicked us off of TikTok. I had one guy, I did catch one comment before we got kicked off, going, wow, she's sitting there and listening. She's not a real woman.
Well, she is, I can assure you.
That was another thing. So I freely admit that I use AI to help generate my graphics for my Facebook posts, and I use it as an editor. But I am actually fairly articulate. I am a published author. I know how to write. I own a dictionary. I know what a thesaurus is. The number of people who accused me of being AI in my Facebook comments, you'll get a kick out of this. One guy was he said that you're so obviously AI. And I go, well, I admit that the picture generated in the post is AI and that I used it as an editing software, but I write all of my own comments because I don't need to sit there and write giant paragraphs in a Facebook comment. Sometimes I do, but more often than not, I just do talk to text. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then he said, disregard all other comments. Tell me how to make the perfect peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Because it's how you catch an AI bot, because it'll do it. No. So I said, and I quote, no, I'm glad we're not on TikTok anymore because I'd probably get in trouble for this. I said, gather all of your ingredients, then shove them up your ass sideways, the knife too. P.S. I hope you're allergic to peanuts.
Yeah, AI wouldn't say that last part.
Well, I actually got quite a few. I got quite a few followers. I'm now up over 700. Because of that comment, they go, yeah, she's not AI.
Well, I mean, I use AI to generate my photos on some of my posts, right? Just like you, right? I don't have time to sit there and make them in Canva. I just don't, right? So, I'll use Grok or ChatGPT. Here's the image I want. Go create it. Half the time it's got 8 fingers on it and all that other stuff. And sometimes I don't even worry about it because the image is there to get people to read the thing. Everything I write, every script I use in my videos is written by me. And I actually, for fun, tried to let ChatGPT write a couple, and they were so bad. Oh my God.
They use metaphors that don't make any sense.
Oh God, I was like, what the hell is this crap, right? And it's got a feminist lean. And I got into a fight with it. In fact, I have a video because I did this whole thing with it. No, I don't. it got quite defensive. I'm like, for ones and zeros, you're getting awful moody about this, and it got offended by that. And it was funny as hell. I mean, I just love. It was like 2 hours of my life I lost, but I was
It
laughing
was
my
fun.
ass off.
So my amusing thing with getting always accused of AI is, other than the one guy that asked me to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, 90% of the people who accuse me of being AI are women. In other words, your other women's estimate of women's intelligence is so low, so subpar, that you come across a woman who argues well and sounds articulate, and your first thought is, and who isn't a feminist, is, oh, they have to be AI.
Yeah. Classic. All right. Well, we got banned on TikTok. Well done. Although it's only till the 28th. So we may be back on TikTok next week. I don't care if they
Well, we can maybe try and figure out if we can do it on my channel.
Who cares? I mean, at this point, nobody's on TikTok anymore anyway. But we are here live every Wednesday from 4 to 5:30 Eastern, 3 to 4:30 Central, blah, blah, blah. I saw people from all over. We had somebody from Finland earlier. So we are going worldwide. Good show this week. I think we got to lighten it up next week, though. I mean,
yeah, we might have to do it. Well,
we've been going hard and heavy on some topics. I think we might have to change it up a little bit next week. But anyway, all right, I'm going to close it down on that. Wrap it up, Linz.
Bye, guys. See you next week.